If you're living in the UK or somewhere like this, then you're probably finding the trails are getting pretty wet and muddy, and they can be really tricky as well, especially when it comes to cornering. So here is how to corner better in the mud. First thing to think about is trying to find the grip, basically, and this can depend on a lot of things, but probably one of the most important things is kind of the type of soil, the type of dirt you're riding on. This part of the trail is actually kind of soft. You can see it's kind of loamy, and there's a really nice rut that's kind of two tyre widths wide in here. So actually, outside of this, it's soft, it's wet, there's kind of roots, you're not gonna find any grip. So what you've got to try and do is get into this rut, but the hard thing about that is actually staying in it. So using your body weight to try and stick right in the middle of the rut, and also look to where you're going. Whereas this berm has been ridden way more, and it's got stone in it as well, so it's way more hard pack. You've got that much more room to manoeuvre. It's not just sort of tyre widths anymore, you've got like a couple of feet. You can see on the way in where there's kind of braking bumps are digging out, because it's been wet for a few weeks now. You can see it is a little bit soft at the start, so you need to be a bit careful coming in, but then you've got room to manoeuvre, and you should have some good grip in that hard pack as well. Line choice when it comes to muddy and wet turns is really, again, it's kind of where the grip is. You go and find that. The best line here, or what looks to be the best line, the racing line, is straight through here, and we've got a 45-degree wet route, so super slippy. So I'm going to miss that. You know, I'll have to take an alternative, and it's pretty simple. You just stick up on this bank, away from those deep little holes and those roots, and you'll find the grip. There is a little sniper at the end, which I didn't see before, but luckily it's going the right way. So if I hit that, I'm gonna slip, and there's actually a really solid berm there. So looking for the grip and improvising as well, because the thing is with wet trails, could ride it like this today, come back tomorrow, if it's rained more and there's 10 more rides come down it, it will look different. Most of the time, I actually don't try and really go around puddles too much, unless the good line is around them. But going around puddles for the sake of it is gonna widen the trail, can ruin them, cause erosion. Is not going to make us popular either, land users, so make sure you're trying to stick on the trail, but also sometimes actually kind of the thinnest mud is going to be in the bottom of the puddles. A bit like the Danny Hart theory, that when he rode Champrix in the rain that's running down, making a river, actually there's more grip down there, so sometimes it's really good. What I will do, if it's a bit of trail I don't know very well, sometimes I'll manual through it, because you never know obviously what's under there. You can't see through a puddle, it's full of muddy water. You know, there might be a horrible rock that's fallen in there, or a root or something, so I'm a bit careful with the weight of my front wheel going through those deeper puddles. Kind of an unusual natural section here, where you come into this uphill corner actually quite quick, and you've got all these wet roots, so obviously no grip on those at all. So actually you might think it might be nice to go wide and get a nice outside line this turn, but then you're just going to hit all of those roots at kind of horrible spacings as well. So quite often, I'll try and get as close to the tree as I can. With this, I can get away with it, because I don't really need to lean in hard until over here. So I can take out all those roots and take what isn't the obvious line, but I'm just hitting one or two roots and only having to unweight over probably one at the start. It's a really good setup line going wide here that sort of gets you out of those first dips and puddles, but also really it's kind of this bit where there's roots where you want to be turning hard. It's quite fast down here, so I get up nice and wide. It looks kind of new, but it's not. It's just it's got a bit soft in the wet weather. But once you come off this, you're then to the inside. There's a really fast exit, because if you stick to the inside, you've also got to deal with those horrible wet roots and the sort of bumps and dips between them, and then you won't come out with any speed if you come out wide here. This is a bit of trail that I know really well, ride it all the time. And in summertime, I know where I need to be braking and about how much grip and how much speed I can go around that turn with. Obviously, when it's wet, you've got less grip, so you just have to brake earlier. Sometimes as well, if you've just splashed through a puddle where you have here, it might actually take kind of a couple of rotations to rub that water off your discs. So you might find you grab them straight away and don't actually work that well. So it's all about braking a bit earlier and maybe dragging them a bit just to clear them off, and just trying to judge your grip as well, kind of what we've been on about quite a lot. But sometimes I'll do a little bit of a kind of skid early on in my ride when I've just started riding, just to get a feel for how much grip there is in those conditions today. But it's all about braking earlier and being a bit more careful. I think one of the hardest things about riding trails like this and cornering well when it's wet and muddy is that the trail is so narrow and it's slippery and there's rocks and roots things. It's trying to keep your weight in the right place, and it's never going to be perfect. You're kind of improvising all the time. And what I'm really trying to think about is my weight sort of following the trail. So sometimes I'm counter steering. If I've messed it up and I'm going too wide, then I'm counter steering to get my weight dropping to the inside and trying to keep my weight in the trail at all times. And that's kind of what I think about quite a lot when I'm trying to go quick on these trails. It's not trying to be perfect, but it's trying to stick in the middle of the track where I need to. As you can probably tell by the state of my bike, it is muddy on the trails at the moment. So when things do get really soft, what tyres you've got on does obviously make a big difference. When it gets to the proper depths of winter, I might think about starting to stick on a tyre that does have deeper tread. I rarely run full-on mud tyres these days, to be honest, but at the moment, I'm still on my normal summer trail tyres, which are these Victorian Mazzas. As you can see, pretty fresh set of tyres, these, and they are pretty chunky. The tread does stick out quite a lot, so it does dig in, and they're quite soft compound as well. Not the softest, but they are a good balance of grip and rolling resistance, because the softer tyres, or the softer rubber compound, I should say, and the mud tyres with a deeper tread don't roll half as quick as a proper dry tyre. So it's a bit of a compromise. At the moment it's wet, but it's not really soft, so I'm sticking with my dry tyres for now. You can think about lowering your pressures a little bit, so I do go down a couple of PSI in the wet conditions, but I don't go crazy. I don't like my tyre to roll around and deform, so I don't really like going too low with my pressures. At the moment I'm running about 23 up front, 25 in the rear. If you're smashing through puddles and riding the mud, then you're going to get half the trail hitting you in the face. So always run a front mud guard and some clear lenses in my glasses so I can see where I'm going and protect my eyes. And these are my Smith Wildcat glasses. Some people like to run flat pedals when it comes to riding the really wet conditions, just so they can get their foot down and dab on the floor if they need it to sort of keep themselves up. I'm actually most of the time on clipless pedals now. I've always switched between them quite a lot, but I do like the feeling of riding clips at the moment, but I always go for kind of bigger pedals than I need. So I've got some Crank Brothers Mallet E on here, so they've got a decent cage on them, just so that, again, if I do have to sort of dab a foot, I've got a lot of support on there. If I can't quite clip back in straight away, I can at least hover my foot on there. So I'm not running the really small, cross-country or trail pedals. I always like to go for a fairly large cage, like with the Mallet E's or the downhill pedals. To go with the bigger cage on the pedal, I like one of the clip shoes that does have a flatter sole as well. So these are the downhill kind of free-riding Shimano AM9s. So almost like a flat pedal sole with a cleat in there. Again, loads of rubber on the outside, so I can actually feel the pedals and grip on them if I don't quite get clipped in. All right, there's a few tips on how to corner a bit better in the mud, and hopefully you'll get some practice, because it'll be like this in the UK for about 6 months now, but at least it's good fun. Anyway, to warm up again.